You're on, Mike.
Good evening. I'd like to begin our Stormwater Commission meeting tonight, and I'll entertain a motion to begin.
Okay, I'll make a motion to start the Stormwater Commission meeting.
Second.
Our next agenda item would be the review of minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Public participation, I don't see anyone in attendance to speak this evening, so we'll move into our project updates, and I've asked Glenn Davis, our acting city engineer, to provide a brief overview of the first three items under A, B, and C under our third section of the agenda.
Sure. Hi. So just a little bit of background. We have, among all of the different systems we have about 10 projects that we're kicking off that we're trying to get designed and completed this year. And so we have posted a request for qualifications for 10 simultaneous projects. And that's has gone out already. It's going to be scheduled for responses by the 24th of January. And we're hoping to have consultants under contract by early February to start design. And we've done all this to try to really expedite, to try to make sure that these projects can be constructed this calendar year. There's a tight time schedule to get everything, all the different steps done through the process. So Drilling Park Culvert and Treese Road stormwater replacement both are on that list for this request for qualifications. So they're on their way toward the first step. And I will just mention really quick that we've also applied for a grant for some extensive sidewalk improvements on College and Treese that does affect this stormwater project. So if we get that grant, that will probably be combined with that sidewalk project most likely. So, but that's unknown yet. So that's the status for those first two projects. And then the Tolbert Improvement Project, that design was completed last year, and we're scheduled to do a bid opening for that project in March. So then we'd see construction here in the spring or possibly early summer.
Thank you, Glenn. The fourth item under project updates, the Stormwater Capital Improvement Plan. So to provide a little refresher in context, one of the things that we've talked about at our previous two meetings was revisiting the stormwater rate and determining whether or not it's appropriate to cover our costs. And there's kind of like three steps in that, in my opinion. The first is really determining our costs, and a big part of that is developing a capital program for stormwater related items. The second piece of that would be making sure that we've got accurate, up-to-date maps of our impervious surfaces. And then the third piece of that would be to kind of marry that together and look at our operating and capital costs and the rate that we're charging now with the updated maps, and determine whether a rate adjustment needs to happen. And I think kind of the first step in that, the Stormwater Capital Improvement Plan, I'm anticipating that by the time we have our July meeting, we should have a draft of that. So we recently completed and adopted our 2025 operating budget, and included in that is our capital items for the year 2025. We just adopted that in December, and now that we're into January, we're looking at updating all of our capital plans for the future years, and we're going to begin that this month with the understanding that we'd have a draft of the budget for our tax budget most likely by June. So we start the tax budget process in May, should have a draft by June. And I think we'd have something reasonable from a costing standpoint for projects for us to look at and discuss at our July meeting. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update about that process. From a budgetary standpoint, We start the budget in May, and it's kind of like a first draft where we're putting together our requests, looking at year-to-date performance, and really it's got an eye toward being able to provide our best guesstimate to the county by the middle of July. Once we finish the tax budget, we actually go right into our formal budget process, which usually begins in August and runs through September, where we will revisit and tighten up any of the estimates and projections that we had during our tax budget. Typically, we don't see a lot of changes in capital project costs between the tax budget and the operating budget, so I feel comfortable that we'll have a reasonable draft by our meeting in July. And with that, I'll ask Glenn to talk about the dry basement program.
Sure. So we haven't had any activity this last quarter when it comes to these dry basement, the dry basement program. And internally, we've had some discussions about kind of how to move the program forward. And I'm coming here really without any firm solutions yet, but just to kind of give you an introduction to what's being discussed. One of the main issues is, so we understand what the program has been doing, but what's the regulatory purpose for the program? For example, is it a program that's trying to reduce damage from the sewer system coming into buildings, causing sewer overflows? If that's the case, then it'd be part of our sewer program. If it's for reducing stormwater coming into buildings for stormwater flooding, that may be more of a risk abatement program. If it's for indigent families that just need help on issues in general, that may be a tax program. So just kind of defining what the regulatory purpose is and what we're trying to accomplish has made this a little bit complicated. So that's really what we're trying to get our head around, to figure out how to come with what kind of a package, what's the purpose, what's the need, and really what's the program. Is it going to be reductions in sewer rates as part of a way of reimbursing people? Is it going to be other means? So that kind of sort of made it a little bit more complicated than we expected, and we're just not prepared to come with a formal proposal yet, but it's in the works.
Yeah, and let me piggyback on Glenn's comments. One of the things that we talked about at our last meeting is that maybe our current program, there are some portions of it that may make it, people might look at it and say it's not worth the time to go through the application, or boy, I've got to jump through a lot of hoops. So part of what Glenn's going to be looking at is, are there things that we can do to simplify it and make it easier for people to take advantage of it? So anticipating that we'll work on that over the next quarter or so, and probably come back together. And what my goal would be is to bring some suggestions and revisions for our discussion, and let the commission members take a look at it and share their thoughts. And maybe that becomes a process over the next couple of meetings. But ultimately, the goal would be to adopt a new program and then beef up our marketing efforts and our outreach efforts to make sure people are aware of it and take advantage of it. So I see that probably playing out at least through the summer on that piece. The next item under our discussion items, at our previous meeting, we talked a little bit about bylaws. And if you remember, at our first meeting last year, I passed out kind of a document packet that amongst the documents were our bylaws. I've reattached that same copy here, and one of the things that the commission members were interested in doing is looking through those bylaws and proposing changes or adjustments that may be needed. So what I've passed out, my ask to commission members would be, take a look at the bylaws over the next 3 months, and if there are changes or questions or additions, things really that you are interested in seeing in there, please send those to me I will take everybody's changes, put them into a document, and then share that at our next meeting, so everybody can see, here's what the original was, here's what all of the suggested changes are, and ultimately, the goal would be for the commission to adopt new bylaws if they feel that's necessary. The last, or the next item, the impervious surface maps. So, there's a lot of ways to kind of update the maps. One of them that our previous city engineer, Vicky McCauley, had thought about was, having like a flyover with a drone. But, I think, Glenn, you're aware of some possibilities that may be more software-driven that we can look at that would allow us to really make sure that we've got up-to-date maps. I've mentioned at a previous meeting that in terms of like capital projects and that piece of it, we probably have less information about the storm network and storm-needed projects than we do other areas. So we really want to spend some time in making sure that all of the parts that we think about and are planning to do something with the Stormwater Commission, that we have as good of an accurate and up-to-date information as possible. So I don't know, Glenn, if you have some thoughts to share on that.
Just only that there are a variety of ways to handle this. Each would have a different level of precision and a different level of cost. So once we're really ready to kick off the investigation, we'd be able to come and figure out, okay, well, how much accuracy do we need? What options are there to get to that level and then to be cost effective? Because you can spend a lot of money doing this and get maybe more information than you wanted. So, but we haven't tackled that yet.
Thank you, Glenn. Moving to our other section of the agenda, I'll just point out that there are two attachments. One is the bylaws, which you've seen before, so same copy. And then there was a discussion about, at least taking a look at our MS4 permit to see what kind of information was in there. Now, I believe this is from 2023, correct? Because we've not filed our 2024 yet. So the idea would be, just on your own time, you could take a look at this. And of course, if you have questions, please pose them to Glenn or I. And then once we get to the point where our 2024 report is completed, I will include that in a future agenda for commission members as well. I'll open it up. Are there questions or other things that you guys would like to see for our next meeting?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. So our next meeting date and time is listed as April 21st. And if you remember, the way we plan on scheduling it is typically before our monthly public service meeting once a quarter. Currently, our schedule for the Public Service Committee meeting is to meet on the third Monday of the month. We will have a discussion at tonight's Public Service Committee meeting about the possibility of changing that to maybe a different day. So for now, I would say pencil in April 21st. If the Public Service Committee does decide to change their meeting time, I will let everybody know right away. I mean, I know we've still got a few months, but I'll let everybody know what the new date will be, so we're all on the same page.
Okay.
And other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no other comments.
Also move.
I'll second.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.